Good morning. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. You can also find us all over social media. It's been a busy week, folks. Kind of the world got turned upside down, and except for the grace of God, we probably would have been headed for a civil war. Instead, for whatever reason, God decided that Trump needed to be spared, and I'm thankful for that, because I believe that Trump is the only solution we have in this election to beginning to fix some of the problems in our country. The left has constantly, including Joe Biden, been completely out of line. You know, they said Trump is Hitler. Democracy will end. By the way, we're in a representative republic, not a democracy. We need to put a bullseye on Trump. That's a big one. And that comes right from Gibberin' Joe. And when Joe had his big boy interview, and how ridiculous is that, folks, that they needed to call it a big boy interview? You know, whoever's in charge of Joe, really, come on, folks. A president's having a big boy interview? What, to prove that he can speak in full sentences? Well, one of the things they questioned him on was that whole putting a bullseye on Trump comment. And he didn't take responsibility. Everybody else needs to cool their rhetoric, but I'm just fine. And he took zero responsibility. Now, probably it's unreasonable to expect that a corrupt, either Alzheimer's patient, maybe it's dementia. Doesn't really matter which one, does it? Cognitively, he's shot. Circuits are misfiring on a regular basis, which means somebody else is in charge of the country, which is a real problem because this guy has the nuclear codes. That's just scary. Just absolutely terrifying. You know that Russia right now has nuclear submarines right around Cuba, that we keep poking the bear, meaning the Russian bear, and we keep funding a war that, as far as I can tell, we've lost. Ukraine, a portion of Ukraine is gone, period. Whether Russia could take all of it, I don't know, but a good portion of it, it's gone. It's under complete Russian control. And we keep sending money to a small-time dictator named Zelensky, who's corrupt, who doesn't allow for free speech, who controls the media, who controls religion. In other words, if you're a religion that he doesn't approve of, it's banned in his country. And he's gotten rid of 2 opportunities to have an election. He's canceled elections. Now, that doesn't mean that Putin's good. It just means, wow. So we have somebody in charge who isn't home, in charge of the nuclear codes. And all I can say is I can't hardly wait for a new president. And I truly hope and pray that that president is Donald J. Trump. Now, one of the big news is that aside from a couple inches, we almost lost Donald Trump, because that's all it would have taken. An inch or two, a slight turn of the head, and that bullet wouldn't have just grazed his ear. For my friends in the media that are saying, oh, it's fake, or like the former RNC chair, Michael Steele, he says, well, we don't even know if it was a bullet. It was glass. They're doing everything they can to downplay this important seminal moment in time. Like, oh, it's no big deal. Well, wait a minute. Trump got shot, and most people would have stayed down and let Secret Service drag them off. Instead, Trump held them up. He put up his fist. He said, fight, fight, fight. In other words, under fire, this man said, wait, we have a country that I'm fighting for. And he put his life at risk a second time because he had no idea if there was a second shooter. He knew that it was a seminal moment. And I think that it says a lot about his leadership, that he's tough and that he knows how to grasp a moment, how to galvanize people. And I think this was a truly history in the making. Today, I am joined by a friend of mine. He also has his own podcast, Delusions Podcast. PhillVill.
Hey, hello, Mr. Eric. Great to be on with you, the Constitutionalist. Nothing's really going on in the world there. It's just really slow news week, right?
Dale, you have a powerful understatement there.
Yes. I'm just curious. I mean, when you saw that, what was going on with you and what was your first reaction when you heard that possible? Well, if you're watching the non-legacy media, you would have heard about shots. But if you're watching the legacy media, you just heard about maybe loud noises.
Right. Like a balloon popped or something.
Yes.
I actually first heard about it from multiple friends that are texting me saying Trump has been shot. And I don't know anything at this point. And I'm like, uh-oh. Like, wait, the whole world just changed.
Yes.
So kind of my world just stopped for a minute. And then I went, okay, I got to go to a news source because they're not my friends are not giving me more details. They're just saying Trump's been shot.
Yes.
Within 5 minutes, I had probably 15 of them.
Yeah. Many are like, is he alive or what's going on? And I immediately went to the news and of course they were playing that 2-minute kind of unedited footage. Yeah. My heart stopped. And then at the same time, the iconic picture that was taken came up.
Fist in the air and a bloody face.
Ooh, yeah. And before I got to still, actually, you saw him fight through it. I'm like, wait, my shoes. And I'm like, what? My shoes? And he stood up and I'm just got chills. It was one of that 9/11 moment, I think, for me. And wow, that was like, that Trump has changed. I feel like I was changed because, I like Trump. I will vote for him. I push him, but he is truly a fighter. When he said that, it was that 9/11 moment with Bush and on the rubble and did you get those same feelings?
Oh, absolutely. I knew it was a moment in history. It was really something I don't know. I still haven't kind of put it in perspective. It's like, it's still a little raw. Like, wow. I remember, I was a kid because I didn't get to vote for Reagan, though I very much supported Reagan.
Yes.
But I remember that, but that wasn't as real for me, actually. That was almost like that happened to somebody else.
Yeah.
I'm fully engaged in politics and I understand the implications. And so again, I'm a little in shock about this.
Oh, that fight. I think that had so much meaning. That was the right word. He got criticized for using the word fight. Like he was trying to cause something other trouble. No, he's had so many issues concerning, the court system, them going after Russia.
Which was, by the way, completely fake.
Fake. 2 impeachments, all these things. And he was like, no collusion, all these different things. And all he knows to do is fight. He didn't have to do what he's doing. He could stay in TV, making billions of dollars on real estate. He could have
had a much simpler life.
Much simpler. And now he's living a life of threats, a life of political, just harassment. So,
well, they call him Hitler constantly.
Yeah.
Still.
Even after this, the threat to democracy, isn't this the real threat, democracy? A shooting that occurred to a former president, most likely the upcoming president.
Well, political violence is a threat to democracy, though we're a representative republic.
Yeah, the other myth, though, there has been more political violence. Look at the streets, the BLM riots, things. They're trying to say J6, all these different things. I'm going to make sure I abbreviate it because, we're on.
Well, no cops. One cop had heart condition and died the next day of natural causes, according to the autopsy report.
Yeah.
One protester got shot by a cop, and there was some windows broken. There was a small amount of damage inside the Capitol. Well, but mostly it was just people walking around. So if we're going to use the BLM line, it's a mostly peaceful protest that the cops let them in.
You know, I want to put the disclaimer below for YouTube. This is a lacking context, right? Come on, lacking context. We saw the video of them doing exactly what you're saying, them opening the door, walking them, almost like giving them a tour of the facilities. And a lot of those are political prisoners. And thank God for the Supreme Court and what they did. And they're tossing out so many of these cases now. It's just they had no merit. And that was one building on what happened on this shooting that happened at 6:11 p.m. Yeah, and it just it was just outrageous what was happening.
Absolutely. And then, you know, the head of the Secret Service, it's now a woman. I don't object to the fact that it's a woman. I object to the fact that she's saying things like, well, you know, we didn't have somebody on the roof because it was sloped. But you look at the pictures in the other two places where they had sniper teams, that roof was even more sloped. So I'm calling BS.
Slope. I love seeing those pictures of the slope. And then you see in these memes, you see on the White House themselves, there is a guy on, slope roof.
Yep.
And then they had another meme. This was a funny one. You see a cow on a slope roof, and it's like all these, they're making excuses. And on the very crime scene that's happening, where the shooter was, and then you see where our snipers were to protect the president, supposedly, were on even deeper slope.
Yep.
A deeper slope. So that was far-reaching excuse. I mean, Dan Bongino. I mean, we love Dan Bongino. Just breaking news about so many things was happening. He's hearing so many, saying that they're hiding it. They're being threatened with their jobs if they speak out. So I have my hat to Dan Bongino. We got to get to the truth right away. There's a cover up happening, and I don't want to get too much tinfoil, but there's a lot of things on the internet. We can't believe everything, but there's some things that are raised a lot of questions. Where were our protection for our president?
Well, I know that the head of the Secret Service said that, well, it wasn't our fault because the local police were supposed to cover that. Well, wait a minute. You're the body that's in charge of everything, and you didn't have somebody go check?
They were in the building. The shooter was on top of the building where all the other snipers supposed to be stationed and all the other staff. What were they doing in the building? They should have been eyes on the ground. Where were the drones that were flying over? Who they could tell you right away who was supposed to be posted there. They're trying to say it was supposed to be the police that brought them in, or we were understaffed. And then they said, no, we didn't deny staff there, like to expand it. And there's credible threats with Iran. We should even have more security. We had less security.
Well, that's because there was some of the security detail went with Joe Biden. For some reason, I don't actually know.
Yeah, Joe Biden had an event too. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, it was highly concerning that some of those agents, particularly one woman, she was able to draw her weapon, but she does not seem to be able to holster her weapon.
Oh, man.
I mean, that video was just sad.
That was like a SNL skit. She was trying to like check here, and she was put like, oh, I'm looking around, I'm doing something. That's why I'm not focused. And she looked scared herself. What was going, I mean,
she clearly doesn't have the training needed. I don't have an objection to women being in that job.
That's not the case. If she was taller, did she pass the test?
Did they lower the standards? That's my biggest thing. I don't want any of the standards to be lowered.
Yes, she did pass the test. The DI standard. That's what they're saying. We don't know the facts, right?
I bet she passed the diversity, equity, and inclusion test.
Man, she must have had a participation trophy too when she was younger too. Anyway, sorry. It'd be funny if it wasn't so serious. I mean, was it the same lady, Secret Service lady that was on the podium or on the platform on the stage that left that big old hole that the sniper could have got another shot, was 2 feet short. That's the same one?
Yeah.
It was, huh? And yeah, that was.
But all three of the ladies were significantly shorter, so they didn't provide the physical block.
Mm-hmm.
I would bet money that all three of them, not one of them could have come close to carrying Donald Trump because he's too much bigger. And I would object to a guy that was that much smaller that couldn't carry Donald Trump if it came down to it.
Yeah, I know I'm off camera, but I know I'm 6'4". I'm very big and buff, right? No. I will say I'm a 5'6". I would not qualify for that, and I should not have that type of job. Either if you're female, male, doesn't matter. But it was very apparent. Her trying to holster her gun, very apparent. She was very scared on stage, looking around. Oh, let me fix my glasses. Oh my God, look around, all these different things. So it was just quite an embarrassment. I mean, it was.
Well, she wasn't the only one that fixed her glasses. Two of those ladies felt the need to fix their glasses.
That's where they get the
more than once.
That's where they get their superpowers from, I think.
Is that it?
Yeah. Sorry, folks, you don't know me. I am very sarcastic in my humor and my podcast. So that's all I know to default to sometimes. It's just like, it was hilarious. They have like some Disney memes of made a 3D animation of some of these Secret Services. I'm with Dan Bongino. This is, yes, okay, let's right here. Don Jr. says that he knows many of the Secret Service that were on stage, and they would have taken the bullet for Trump, and they did their job at that moment. Mm-hmm. But everything surrounding the plan, the execution, and some of the staff members, there's questions that we should not like say, well, that's old news. Let's just celebrate. No, Dan Bongino is right. It's not no platitudes. There's no time for celebration. No, we shouldn't have gone there. That's what we're there for. They're there for. They shouldn't have no problems, especially on our own soil.
Mm-hmm. There's no doubt. Now, you've got a clip from Dan Bongino.
Yeah.
So while you're looking for that, this whole thing concerns me, and the fact that they seem to have a changing story. And according to Bongino, who was in the Secret Service, so he's kind of my go-to on this. He would be my show prep. He says that the DOJ, so Merrick Garland, is telling the head of the Secret Service, don't say a word. Your job's on the line. Well, that's a pretty big deal. Rather than pushing for clarity, finding out exactly what's happening, we are focused on, well, how can we fool them today? How can we cover? Let's go ahead and play this clip.
You have one job and only one job. Your job is keep the body alive no matter what. Donald Trump, Joe Biden, Jill Biden, the president of Djibouti, it doesn't matter. That is your job. They absolutely, resolutely, 100% failed. Not a single excuse should be made. Not a single excuse should be attempted. This should be the subject of congressional hearings and investigations, because if they can't do this, and this is the best technology you had, then folks, there's no purpose anymore. This was an apocalyptic security failure. And don't ever forget, an uneventful failure is never a success. And the fact that Donald Trump didn't die yesterday is no reason for anybody to take some kind of victory lap. And before we start sending out plaudits, we better look and do a hot wash on this and find out exactly how abysmal this security plan was.
Yeah, amen. We definitely got to get to the bottom of this. My understanding is that now that this has happened, it's not classified. So every single congressman should be requesting all of the reports that go with this, because the way the military or the places like the Secret Service are set up, they have after action reports. I don't remember if that's exactly what they call them, but essentially an event happens and then they go and they review the event, what went right, what went wrong, what could be better, how do we fix it? If there's a problem, well, those need to be very public.
Yeah.
There might be a few things that maybe they don't want people to know that the Secret Service does, but generally the vast majority of that report should be public.
Yeah, it should be public. But if we learned anything, and hopefully we learned some good lessons, but I don't have trust in this. I really don't. I mean, right now we could say that the FBI has investigated so many things that were kind of near the political realm, and they call things workplace violence when it wasn't workplace violence. They are in charge of the investigation. Secret Service is now being investigated in this. So I don't trust the Department of Justice, and I think many don't, because they've been kind of skewed with kind of operating under the political realm versus an objective point of view. But let me tell you this: you would think, and I'm real skeptical. The media is celebrating. I'm gonna say they're finally calling strikes on some things. Some things. But then you have the Joy Reids and others extremists kind of like saying, well, Trump kind of contributed to the atmosphere of this. And they're kind of going back into blaming Trump. So I kind of see that teeter-totter, and I think because they want ultimately Biden out. But
I don't know. Joy Reid bothers me. She talks about cultural appropriation, and then she wears Trump's hair. It's just wrong.
Look at this guy's a comedian now. Yes, she is. It's so crazy. The people on TV, Joy Reid, and you got Joy Bear, Whoopi, and Sunny, and they're nowhere being close to being sunny and joyful. No. Yeah, they're very. I feel anti-American a lot of times because they're really rooting for the wrong thing.
We're going to go ahead and take our first break. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXCX, the best talk in town. Please like, subscribe, comment, hit the bell notifications. Let me know what you think. It's worth doing? I think it is. I think that one more American exercising their First Amendment rights. I'm not claiming to be a journalist. I'm an opinion guy. But I do appreciate it, and I always try to respond when people comment. Let's go ahead and come back. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXCX, the best talk in town. We're talking about kind of the news of the day. I am joined by Philip.
Producer Phil here.
Producer Phil of the Delusions Podcast.
Also the Delusions Podcast, yes sir. You can also find me on YouTube and all the other podcast platforms, talking about the news of the days through the lens of faith and humor. Will make your eyes roll or make you laugh, or we like to say, bring the cheese for your quesadillas. There's a lot of things going on, but thank you for having me just chime in a little bit here on this big news week of the shooting and then the conference that's happening at the conference convention, which our great Guillermo Moreno, the station, is there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
is Guillermo also there?
He is there. He sent me a picture with him and Mike Lindell.
Oh, cool.
My Pillow, yeah. I love Mike Lindell. And then I saw a meme, speaking of Mike Lindell, of Trump, and has that bandage,
mm-hmm.
and they put a logo of My Pillow on there. Wouldn't that be a great sponsor?
That's cool.
Yeah. You should have been there. I'm surprised you're not there.
There was the opportunity, but I'm in the wrong district to be able to, cause
you should have moved.
I wasn't willing to lie about my district, but the opportunity was there for me to go.
Nice.
Now with the stomach flu that I got, probably just as well I didn't go, but
yeah, we would have seen you on camera just run across the where's he going? Yeah, he had a bug. But I'm curious, who would you have wanted to see? Of course you want to say Trump, but who else would you have wanted to see if you'd gone to that convention?
I would like to meet Vivek or Vivek.
Vivek.
I would really like to meet Mark Johnson.
Okay.
He's running for governor of North Carolina.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
I would love to meet Benny Johnson.
Benny Johnson.
Now, he's not a politician. He's a podcaster.
Oh,
but
I love his reels.
I love his reels, and I love his positive attitude.
Yes.
I would have been curious to meet Amber Rose.
That was amazing. Amber Rose, yes. Even Van Jones says that when she just gave this speech, he said that she is more famous than him, and the whole panelists that they should be afraid in a sense because the rhetoric is changing.
Mm-hmm. Well, 25 million subscribers on Instagram. That's a This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXCX, the best talk in town. We're talking about kind of the news of the day. I am joined by Philip.
Producer Phil here.
Producer Phil of the Delusions podcast.
Also the Delusions podcast, yes sir. You can also find me on YouTube and all the other podcast platforms, talking about the news of the days through the lens of faith and humor will make your eyes roll or make you laugh, or we like to say bring the cheese for your quesadillas. So there's a lot of things going on, but thank you for having me just chime in a little bit here on this big news week of the shooting and then the conference is happening at the conference convention, which our great Guillermo Moreno of the station is there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
is Guillermo also there?
He is there. He sent me a picture with him and Mike Lindell.
Oh,
the
cool.
My Pillow, yeah. I love Mike Lindell. And then I saw a meme, speaking of Mike Lindell, of Trump, and has that bandage, and they put a logo of My Pillow on there. Wouldn't that be a great?
This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXCX, the best talk in town. We're talking about kind of the news of the day. I am joined by Philip.
Producer Phil here.
Producer Phil of the Delusions podcast.
Also the Delusions podcast, yes sir. You can also find me on YouTube and all the other podcast platforms, talking about the news of the days through the lens of faith and humor will make your eyes roll or make you laugh, or we like to say bring the cheese for your quesadillas. So there's a lot of things going on, but thank you for having me just chime in a little bit here on this big news week of the shooting and then the conference is happening at the conference convention, which our great Guillermo Moreno of the station is there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
is Guillermo also there?
He is there. He sent me a picture with him and Mike Lindell.
Oh, cool.
My Pillow, yeah. I love Mike Lindell. And then I saw a meme, speaking of Mike Lindell, of Trump, and has that bandage, and they put a logo of My Pillow on there. Wouldn't that be a great sponsor?
That's cool.
Yeah. You should have been there. I'm surprised you're not there.
There was the opportunity, but I'm in the wrong district to be able to, cause
you should have moved.
I wasn't willing to lie about my district, but the opportunity was there for me to go.
Nice.
Now with the stomach flu that I got, probably just as well I didn't go, but
yeah, we would have seen you on camera just run across the where's he going? Yeah, he had a bug, but I'm curious, who would you have wanted to see? Of course you want to say Trump, but who else would you have wanted to see if you'd gone to that convention?
I would like to meet Vivek or Vivek. I would really like to meet Mark Johnson.
Okay.
He's running for governor of North Carolina.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
I would love to meet Benny Johnson.
Benny Johnson.
Now, he's not a politician. He's a podcaster.
Oh,
but
I love his reels.
I love his reels, and I love his positive attitude.
Yes.
I would have been curious to meet Amber Rose.
That was amazing. Amber Rose, yes. Even Van Jones says that when she just gave this speech, he said that she is more famous than him, and the whole panelists that they should be afraid in a sense because the rhetoric is changing.
Mm-hmm. Well, 25 million subscribers on Instagram. That's a pretty big deal.
That is a big
That's more than Trump.
Deal. Yeah, and she has a demo of it reaches especially the younger demographic that they're trying to grab hold, indoctrinate with all this other nonsense to keep the Democrats in power for generations to come, and that scares them because they can't take our kids, and we're fighting for them.
So here we have an influencer, a model, somebody with a tattoo on their face.
I know,
and they're speaking at the RNC convention. That's a huge deal.
A tattoo on our face, it's competing with that teardrop that you had on your eyes. Did you have a tattoo there?
Not me, but I know a lot of people that do have tattoos on their faces, and it's not quite the same as it used to be.
I know. You did have one that said mom right there. I love it. Oh, that's Amber Rose. She's doing good. I would have loved to seen the most iconic entrance, Proud to be an American, live. And here comes Mr. Trump.
With Lee Greenwood singing.
Singing. He was emotional singing that. You could hear his voice shaking. And you see Trump backstage, and he walked in. I've never seen him so changed in that way. The humility, I think. He knew that his life was almost gone.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even know that it was 3 bullets that went past his head. Mm-hmm. 2 hit him, right? One hit him.
One hit him.
One's completely, barely missed him, and the one like a little bit further off. But then you see that diagram, that 3D rendering that they made in his head. He could have just been killed 3 times.
And unfortunately, somebody was killed, and 2 people should be okay, but were seriously injured. So the families of those people, they're in my thoughts and prayers, and there's no excuse for political violence.
The fireman who was protecting his wife and daughter was a hero in life and a hero in death. He loved Jesus. He was a go-to person in his church. He was not famous, but now his name will live on for him being a hero that he was. And there was a casualty. And it was in the casualty in the political realm, and this should not have happened. This should never happen again. I
don't want it to happen to the left either.
No side. Yeah, I think we're very consistent on the right. We don't want it to happen. We can't. I've seen so many people in interviews like, do you denounce the violence? I think Piers Morgan had one crazy night named Destiny, and he tried to get him to. No, he would refuse. Well, they deserve this, or they say things out like try to gaslight just America in this, and just play this whole Trump outrage. Was it Trump outrage syndrome, whatever you call it? Yeah. So it's
Trump derangement.
There you go. I was trying to figure it out. Thank you. You used to have that problem, right? No. Never.
No. I will admit that in 15. Before Trump became the nominee, I was a Ted Cruz guy. I wasn't thrilled about Carly Fiorina as his VP.
Oh, we saw that, yeah.
But I was still a Ted Cruz guy.
I was too, yeah.
It didn't take long for me to go, wait a minute, Trump is so different. I couldn't get over the fact that he's kind of a loudmouth. He's brash.
Yes.
And I couldn't get over that. I was so expecting a politician to be polished, and Trump's not that, but he's a patriot. He's totally America first.
Yeah.
And as his policies started to come out, I'm like, oh wow, I was profoundly wrong. I wasn't just wrong. I was profoundly wrong that he was the right guy for the job. And, and then in 2020, things that I'm not okay with happened, and somehow he was not elected.
Man, that's you know what? That's what I think. Was it J.D. Vance that became the VP nominee? Because there's quotes of him saying all these anti-Trump, never Trump things.
He even called him Hitler at one point.
He called him Hitler. But you know what? If you think about it, a lot of us were kind of like not on the Trump train right away. And once you kind of understood what he stood for in his policies, and you kind of look past the brashness and the things in his personality that I eventually end up loving, especially in the debate with Hillary. You're wrong. All these different things. I loved him more. And this past weekend, I love him even more.
Well, you're seeing a human side and a strength that I knew he was tough, but wow.
That is the thing right there. Again, he was beloved by the hip hop world, entertainment. He was on a lot of the talk shows. He was on SNL, that he brought in the ratings. He was loved. And once he announced, they tried to dehumanize him. I think they mentioned that on the Al Autry shows. And,
he supported Jesse, African-American guy that ran twice for president.
Jesse Jackson.
Thank you.
Yes.
He supported his campaign and donated to his campaign both times.
Many of them. And the Clintons loved him. The daughters were best friends, apparently, or something at one point. And, and so they celebrated him. And once he just said that he now a conservative Republican, you saw what they did. Dehumanized him. They tried to
and except I don't see him he's not a hardcore conservative. I'm more conservative than he is.
That's true. He's not.
He is governed more from the middle.
Yes.
With policies that make for a successful country. In other words, low inflation, cheap energy.
Yes.
Great opportunity.
I wasn't happy, and I kind of think with Dan Bongino on this, I wasn't happy on his little pivot on maybe abortion. But then I'm thinking about it again. I would vote out and pro-life as pro-life can be, but he's a pragmatist. He is a deal maker, and he knows that that's just not going to pass. And so the reality is, if we truly believe it's a state's issue, then it's a state's issue. Mm-hmm. If they vote for one way that we don't like,
move to another state.
Yes. I don't like it. I think there should be, really, again, we don't get into the whole abortion thing, but it needs to be rare, you know what I mean? Type of thing. But
wait, you don't see it as birth control?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Isn't that just so wrong?
Up to the moment of birth and then beyond. And
that's the reality we live here in California.
Yes. Yes. I would move if I didn't have so many loved ones here. If it wasn't for the Constitutionalist, I wouldn't. Just kidding. No, I love California. There's a remnant of people, and there's a culture shift happening, I believe, in America, and even here in California. And we're seeing a lot of the campaigns. People from the grassroots are stepping up. You yourself, and listen to Mr. Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, is out there. I mean, the word is being spread in all the board meetings, I forget, City Hall, all the things.
I go to a lot of them, yeah.
You go to a lot of them. And
I speak.
Yeah, and you speak and you're a man of action. And that's what I love. You're investing your own.
But I'm not alone. That's the thing.
That's exactly. Yep.
One person standing makes a difference. Okay? Because they provide a beacon of hope. The next person that stands next to him, all of a sudden that person doesn't look so crazy. When there's a group of us, we can change our world.
Facts right there. That's what those say, facts right there.
And I hope that this assassination attempt was a wake-up call, because we need to change our world. The path that we're on here in California parallels what Biden is trying to do to the country. Yes. Now, I see it as largely incompetence, that there are these well-meaning liberals that have no concept of the consequences of their actions. They have all these unintended consequences, like, we're going to fix homelessness. We're going to throw $24 billion at it. But now we don't want any audit or any sense of what worked or didn't work. We just threw money at it, so we're good people. But the problem got bigger. Well, that's typically what happens with the left, is when they get in control, the problem gets bigger.
And I think that's why a lot of those, you would say, a little more liberal on the left, who had kind of been like the Joe Rogans, the Bill Maher's, and even now Elon Musk, who's now like, I'm through with you guys. You guys are just like taking it far. I mean, we just saw that, was it $45 million a month?
A month. Totally. 4 months, $180 million.
$180 million. Come on. That's what I'm talking about. He believes in this country. Again, I don't believe everything he stands for. I think he's, would you say he's liberal but not a leftist, and he's a conservative on?
I would say he's a classical liberal in some ways. Mm-hmm. He's not woke.
No.
But classic liberal. So he totally believes in free speech. But, some of his ideas, like the merging of machinery, technology, and man, scare me.
Those of us who believe in the mark of the beast, he's kind of like, what is going on here? No, I want control of my own body. That's even those chips and all that. But I really believe there is a culture shift happening. And I know, like, Bill Maher hates Trump and will never vote for him. But the people are speaking up on freedom, freedom of thinking, freedom of speech, and this whole lack of control of the government. And people are kicking the butt. And I think it's like you said, they're being awakened. Not woke, to be awakened to what the true agenda of the legacy media and the true agenda of what government's trying to do in infiltrating our privacy, and infiltrating our homes and our families, and trying to take control of our kids. And I can go on and on with that, and that's what I feel like you're doing here. You're taking a stand. You're shining a light where the darkness is to be just taken away.
Mm-hmm. Well, if we don't stand for our freedoms and we don't learn our freedoms, how many people know the 5 aspects of the First Amendment? That's an easy one. Everybody should know those.
Say it out loud for everybody that don't.
Religion, freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom of assembly, and freedom to petition the government.
Man, that's the next tattoo you're going to get, huh? And I like that on your logo right there. Your slogan is standing for freedom. And that's what you're doing here. And I love it. And I think that's what in this atmosphere, just in the political realm, I think people are so tired of politics, but they're realizing that's the vehicle that we have to make change. And that's why our vote matters. And I want to hear more. I was hearing on what I stand for. We got to have that shift. We got to start somewhere.
No, you have to start somewhere. There's no doubt. We're going to go ahead and take our last break. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXCX, the best talk in town. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about the court ruling that got rid of the case against Trump in Florida. And I want to talk about J.D. Vance, because I think both of those are points of hope. Let's go ahead and come back. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXCX, the best talk in town. I am joined by producer Philip from the Delusions podcast.
Yes. Great to be back talking about a lot of things happening here in this great nation of ours.
So first of all, there's been all this lawfare against Trump, and we've worked our way through some of it. One of the big cases was what was happening in Florida, the documents case, where they appointed somebody, but they didn't do it the right way. And now that case is dismissed. So that one's now the federal government could bring it back up, but the odds of it happening before the election, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And we seen them pretty much throw the kitchen sink at him. And they were saying that this one actually had legs because of, obstruction possibilities and what could happen, but they knew it would kind of go to the Supreme Court. And we seen that Pointy, I guess he wasn't, you probably explain it better, but he wasn't legitimate, like kind of appointed, right?
So either you have to be appointed with approval of Congress to be a special prosecutor, and there was no congressional portion to that. Just the DOJ randomly went, hey, you over here. Yes. That's the guy we want. And they didn't go through Congress.
Yeah. And July, this past Monday, as this airs, it was a Monday, July 15th, the U.S. judge in Florida on Monday, dismissed the criminal case accusing Donald Trump of illegally keeping classified documents after leaving office, handing the Republican former president another major legal victory as he possibly returns to the White House. And so they can't knock him down. They're throwing everything. He's had success. Yeah, he was convicted. That's where they wanted that mugshot. But I know that he's gonna continue. He's basically a martyr when it comes to all this.
Well, one of the Democrats in Congress wrote a bill. It didn't really go anywhere, thank goodness.
Yeah.
But when he was convicted of those 34 bogus counts, they wanted to remove his Secret Service protection.
Crazy. They know exactly, because if he was going to go in prison and they removed the Secret Service, what's going to happen?
Right.
They're setting it up. They want to, again, I'm saying that very broadly. They allegedly want a scenario like what just happened to take place. Many of them, not all of them on Democrats. I'm saying those that want to hang on to power. They're power hungry.
Wait, is there a Democrat that at the national level that isn't in that category?
I'm talking about those in Washington, those who are kind of have power, those everyday people that are friends and family that are Democrats. I'm not demonizing them. I get, there are some that are leftists, like want to hurt anybody that believes in the right conservative or Trump leaning political realm. But I'm not talking about the everyday, like you said, the Reagan Democrats.
No.
So,
well, there's even some traditional liberals. They're not woke. That maybe they're not, I don't agree with them on a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
But they're not all bad. And I have friends and family in that category.
Exactly. Yeah. And they could be, let me tell you this, they could be passionate. I have family members that they hate Trump, but they would not say he deserved what he needed to happen. They take that against as an American. Hey, you don't go after political opponents like that. So that's why I think the lot of the left or the Democrats are kind of starting to vote, and independents going to vote right, like the Elon Musk and everybody like that.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go ahead and shift gears to J.D. Vance.
Yes.
Now, he was not my first choice, but he was in my top 3.
And he's speaking tonight.
He's speaking tonight. Now, very eloquent speaker, very smart guy, went to Yale, was on the Yale Law Review, is actually friends with Vivek, and they went to Yale together.
Really? I thought I heard. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, they're personal friends.
Yeah. Nice.
So they're both super smart, super articulate. Vivek was in my top 3, though I have to kind of question. He hasn't been a conservative as long as I'd like, number 1, and number 2, he's not a Christian. With that being said, the man is next level brilliant.
I mean, he's a
Hindu.
Yeah. He really?
Yeah.
I thought he was Catholic.
No, he's Hindu.
Really? I did not know that. Okay.
Now, he's still next level brilliant, and I hope that he has a place in the Trump administration.
Yes.
But I was actually for Byron Donalds.
Really? Mm-hmm. Okay. I think maybe I wasn't necessarily rooting for people, but I thought he was going to go with either Tim Scott or Rubio. That's kind of, but now that I think about it, he likes his surprises.
Yeah. Tim Scott bent his knee to BLM. He's a very nice guy.
Yeah.
But he's kind of a milquetoast moderate.
Yeah, he hangs out with, I'm not saying against, what's his name on Fox? He was a former congressman, Gowdy.
Trey Gowdy.
And the other guy. They're good friends. They're best friends, I think. So they've been kind of a little more establishment on some things, but then they kind of been on the pro.
Look, he wouldn't have been a terrible choice. He just was not in my top tier.
Yeah. I guess I am surprised on this choice, but I think a lot of us are excited because that shows that, again, the whole converts. He could be a convert. Maybe people say he's pandering, but no, I think he's a true believer, a Trump believer now. He's really close to Donald Trump Jr., and I think that's kind of helped him.
Mm-hmm. Well, Trump actually listens to a lot of people. Everybody thinks he's just a loudmouth that just talks. When you start listening to people that are close to him, no, he listens.
Yeah.
As much as he talks, he listens. And that's a quality we need as a president.
And sometimes he gets it right. Sometimes he doesn't. Mike Pompeo and others, but
yeah. Well, I'm hoping he's going to be a lot smarter this time. He also not only did he not have enough people, he didn't have enough second and third and fourth level people that he can just appoint.
Yeah.
He did not have, like Obama had 1,500 people day 1 to go into the bureaucratic state. Day 1. Trump had something like 400. It's been a while since I've read this article.
Wow. Interesting fact. Yeah.
But okay. So if he only had 400 people trying to implement his policy and Obama had 1,500, well, what do you expect? He's going to have a lot harder time. Now, one of the most impressive things about J.D. Vance is not only is he smart, but he's a populist and he's positive and he can speak in a way that people feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
He can go on and be confrontational and be nice as can be. He didn't back off.
True.
He can put them in their place, but he didn't actually tell them off in kind of a Trump-like manner. So they have a very different temperament. They're both patriots and smart men. But
have you seen his Netflix, what is the Hillbilly thing that he has on Netflix?
I have not seen it.
Hillbilly, something like that.
Elegy.
There you go. Yeah. I want to check that out now that I know. I heard about something, but now I'm going to check that out.
Well, I was real concerned when Karl Rove came out for Doug Burgum, and Doug Burgum was supposedly in the final cut. He was one of those last ones, and I'm like, well, Karl Rove's a globalist, a moderate.
Yeah.
I think in a lot of ways maybe a rhino. Like, I think he cares about money and power as opposed to a set of beliefs. He's a smart man, but I don't trust Karl Rove whatsoever.
No, we could actually, that's a whole show by itself, like Karl Rove. And it's really quick out here I found online, on Outlook, Presbyterian. that Vance says he's converted to Catholicism and he married to a Hindu woman. So I'll look into that. But yeah, either way, just pray that I know I trust Trump's his gut feeling on this.
Well, Trump definitely seems to have good instincts. Yes. And so when you have somebody that is positive, is trying to do the right thing, is absolutely a patriot, and frankly could do something a lot easier, but has chosen the hard path. I think you're looking at all of the elements of somebody that deserves to win and be president again.
Yes, sir.
This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town.